Today, we're going to be running through our training register product. So give you a little walkthrough of that in a minute, but it would be good to know as well in the chat, what processes and what softwares, whether it's Excel, are you using at the moment to track and manage the training of all of your team as we go through as well. So let us know how you're doing that, but it would also be really interesting to sort of understand, what are some of the challenges, some of the struggles, what gives you the biggest headache with using Excel, for example. It'd be really interesting to know if some of those same challenges are shared between everyone. So feel free to spam the comments, spam the chat section with some of the biggest pains, biggest challenge points with using Excel for your training matrix. Awesome. We'll give it a couple more seconds. Norbert, we've got a snowy Stockport. Lucky you. Love a bit of snow. Haven't had any down here in ages. Great. So I think we'll kick off now. Once again, any questions that you do have throughout, feel free to fire those into the chat section or the Q&A. Jack will be monitoring all of that chat, so we can answer those either as we go through, or towards the end we'll do a full Q&A section as well. So hopefully you are all able to see my screen at the moment. This is the training register. Now, obviously we've got a lot of existing customers and also some new names and new faces as well. So great to have you here, everyone. But what we wanted to do today is showcase and show you a bit of a quick demo of our training register system. Now, I know a lot of you are already using our RAMS software, so it's worth mentioning that you can use the training register in conjunction, and there are some areas where they sort of integrate with each other as well. But for those who don't write RAMS or don't actually have access to our RAMS system as standard, you are also able to use the training register as a standalone product. It was built to start with as a bolt-on, but we have made a lot of changes over the last sort of 6 months to ensure that we can actually have it as a standalone, because we had a lot of interest from sort of different industries that don't actually generate RAMs. Just to give you a bit of a background as well as to why we sort of created the training register. A lot of our clients were sort of crying out for us to create or streamline the training matrix in the same way that we did the RAMS process as well. So I think in terms of that ease of use, for those who are very familiar with Hands HQ, I think you'll see a lot of that sort of ease of use being pulled through into the training register as well. I guess that's really part of our sort of DNA as and when we develop or build new products. So as standard, I know a lot of the industry, the sort of status quo in terms of how the training matrix, training register is managed is through Excel. And I know that it can be a headache at the best of times. And often, because it's a very manual process, unfortunately, training can get missed. Training can go out of date. And then, sometimes you do end up sending sort of personnel to the site, not with the correct training, which isn't great. So for us, it's about, how can we give you those notifications automatically as and when training is due to expire, which is exactly what the training register will do. So I'll jump into the demo now. As mentioned, any questions, feel free to fire those into the Q&A or the chat section, and we'll be able to answer those as we go through. Perfect. So this is the dashboard. This is what you'll access and you see first of all when you actually log into the training register. As with the RAMS, it's a web-based, a cloud-based system. So it gives you that flexibility to be able to access this information as and when you need to. So you could be in the office, you could be out on site and actually be able to update any records or pull off training reports of the operatives that are actually out on site. It is worth mentioning at this point as well that actually we can create restrictions as to who can see what information. So we can actually create a read-only personnel, so essentially a user that can only go into the system and pull some reports off, rather than being an admin who's actually able to update and change some of that sort of information. So really handy for maybe project managers or site managers, where they might just off the cuff and very randomly get asked by the clients for information of some of the operatives. They can actually pull this information off. So when you log into the dashboard, first, you'll see all of your personnel. So this is your full library of all of the different personnel, your employees that you have within the business. Now, I'm sure the thing that you'll see straight away is obviously the color code and the sort of traffic light system that we have here. I'm sure this is very easy to explain. I'm sure you've already understood exactly what's going on here. So any of your individuals with the green tab essentially means that their training is fully up to date. Anyone with the orange tab actually means that this a training course of theirs is due to expire within the next 60 days. So we can see here in this example, Ellie, for example, is orange. Therefore, within the next 60 days, a training record is due to expire. You'll actually receive email notifications of these as well. Anything in red essentially means that this training record is out of date. So they might have several, they might have 10 different competencies or training, but it means that at least one of those is out of date, which I'll go into an actual training account at some point throughout this demo as well. You do also have the ability to filter. So if you just wanted to see everyone that's up to date, then you can just tick off these here and you'll be able to filter down to the information that you want to be seeing. You can also filter between employees and subcontractors as well. So if you did want to manage any of your subcontractors, then it's very straightforward and easy to do so. We can see here our different company names. So this is MJ Construction, but we've got the Diggers Drivers Association, which is our contractor where we get all of our digger drivers from. We can see that they are actually a subcontractor of ours and they'll be pulled through to the subcontractors here. You do also have the ability as well to archive any personnel. So if you do have certain contractors that may work with you for a month at a time and maybe sort of once or twice a year, rather than having in your main library all of the time and actually be receiving notifications, you can archive an individual. They'll fall into the background, but at any point you are able to unarchive them and restore all of their information if they come back to work for you again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through, before we go into an actual sort of a training account of an individual, a profile, I'm just going to go through a few of these tabs that we have up at the top here. So what we're able to do, and it's really handy, rather than just searching by individuals, we can actually search by different roles that we have within the business as well. So we can search here, so by selecting roles, we can see all of the different roles that we have within our business, so within MJ Construction. So if we wanted to, our client called us up and said, you know, could you please send down a electrical engineer? Very straightforward, very easy for us to go into the role section, select our electrical engineers, and actually be able to see which personnel within our business carry that role. So we can see here that 3 of those are in green. So Paul, Damien, and Vicky, you know that you can send them to site. They've got the qualifications that they need. Ellie, in this case, does have the correct competencies and training. However, we're just notified that actually within the next 60 days, training is due to expire there as well. You can also see within the tab here the courses that are essentially associated to that role as well. I'll show you how we can align courses to different roles. So as we move through to our next tab, which is our course register, this is essentially where all of the different courses, different competencies, different training that we need our team and across the organization to have, this is where they will all live. So we've got the ability to search by these as well and filter down by the different courses to find the individuals that we need within the business. So once again, just wanted to mention any questions. No, we haven't had any so far. Hopefully I've explained everything that we need to, but feel free to fire some questions in as well. Jack, unless we've got any through at the moment.
No, none at the minute, mate. Keep going.
Perfect. So course register. So once again, in the same way as we have had with our previous 2 tabs, once again, they're filtered by the color coding. So whether a training, so in this case, it would be an individual or personnel within this training course is actually out of date. So if we wanted to search for first aid at work, for example, as a course, we can select this course and we'll see all of the information that is pulled through as our first aid at work. So we can include all of our sort of whether evidence is required. So do we need to actually upload a certificate, a PDF or an image of that competency, the proof of that. We can also add any information in for our methods and who the provider is. But then on our additional tabs, we're able to see which personnel within the business carries this individual course. Once again, the traffic light system here. And then we can also see which roles within our business also have to, as standard, have this first aid at work, this training as a standard sort of associated training course.
Just a quick question, Mace. I'm sure you're going to cover this later on. Just a question from Jamie. This is a training register only account. Will we be able to also show how they work with projects as well in terms of?
Yes, very good question. Yeah, I'll be able to sort of demonstrate and show you how we're able to do that shortly too as well.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a quick example of actually how we can pull through some information from our sort of our course register into our roles as well. So essentially, when you create a course, you would align which roles this course is attributed to. So when we create a role, you can see that for our ground workers, for example, all of the courses that are applicable for our ground workers. So this makes it really straightforward and really quite easy actually when we add a personnel and create a brand new personnel, which we do right now. So let's say if we wanted to add an individual, let's go for Michael Owen, which I know a few of you are probably surprised at that Michael Owen is now an electrical engineer. So we can add Michael as an electrical engineer. You also got the ability to add further information at this point as well. You don't have to add this information. This is purely just an add-on, but you've got the ability there to add any information in that you need. We're also selecting Michael as an employee. So as we've added the role, we can add that personnel. We can then see Michael's profile pull through. And when we actually go into this profile, as standard, as an electrical engineer at MJ Construction, an electrical engineer must have these levels of competency or training. So it's actually going to pull these through as standard. Then it's for us to actually go in, either show that we've added booking. So we can say, actually, we've made an action to say that this first aid at work training course is booked for 2 weeks' time. If not, we can actually record that training as well. So we can add a start date. So let's say Michael did this training in the previous company a few months ago, and the frequency and the expiry date for this is in 5 years' time. Then it's going to add our expiry date as well. You do have the ability to upload any evidence, which I'll show you on another account in a moment. Also add any notes that you might need to as well. So we can actually record this training. Now you aren't sort of like bound to the training as per a role. You do also have the ability to add any further training courses as well. So if Michael, for example, has training that's outside of the electrical engineer role, you can add further training courses as well, which is very straightforward. You just essentially searching across your courses. Let's see what we've got. So you can add the course. Is the course required as part of this role? Yes or no? Has the training already taken place? If it has, we can just say yes, and once again, add our details of when this training was taking place. We can add the training course as well. So very straightforward to add any additional to. What I'll do is I'll just jump back into the personnel library, and I'll be able to show you what a finished profile would essentially look like. So if we were to find my account, when we pull through into the accounts, we can actually see all of the different training that I have as standard, but also my additional training as well. We do have a notification on my account to say that it requires evidence. So that's essentially meaning, right, we need to upload some form of, whether it be a PDF document, an image of a CSCS card or a certificate. But what that will actually look like is like so. So where we've got my NEBOSH, I can actually pull through my certificate. So we're able to keep all of those copies within the system, which is really handy because, you know, speaking with quite a few of our clients, I heard a story before where a client asked for all of the operatives on site, a full training report of all of their individuals, and they genuinely spent hours per individual trying to pull off all of the different information from different servers, different files, different emails, formatting it onto a Word document to then be able to send off. So what's great about being able to store all of this information in a profile is you've got the ability to download a full training report. Now, how this works, download a training report, you can decide what evidence or what information you want to be pulled through as part of that report. So if we were to say include our evidence, then we can download. It's actually going to create for us this training report for our individual. So we can see here, it's actually pulled through all that evidence as well. So this is obviously this isn't me, doesn't look like me at all, but you've got the ability to download this information as a PDF and forward it straight off to your clients if they're needing proof of your operatives on site.
Thanks. Mason, just a quick question. You just answered Gareth's question as he asked it, and Chris has got another one on the archiving of certifications and training to show a training history.
Yes, great question. So you are able to have a training history, so it will essentially log throughout. So if you were to record a new training, let's have a look. So if we recorded, so today, then you do have the ability to actually see that training history as and when, the expiry date and when it's been updated as well. On top of that, you do also have the activity tab in the same way that you do with the RAMS system. You can see that activity tab of that individual, how training's changing over time. You've got full date time stamps to that as well, and what actually those changes of that individual has been. So great for that sort of best practice and management of that individual's account.
Great, and just as an additional to that, that's fully GDPR compliant.
Perfect, thanks, Jack.
Yeah, nice.
Any other questions at all?
Yep, just got another quick question. Can personnel have more than one role?
Yes, they can. Yes, so we can have multiple roles on an individual. So if we are to go back, for example, let's go into David Beckham, who's just recently been joined by Michael Owen. Interesting partnership. Believe if we go into edit details, you're able to add additional roles. So obviously at the moment, David is just an engineer, but we can add, say that, now also, congratulations, David, you've been promoted, you're now a ground worker as well. So we can save those changes, and now it's going to pull through all of the training that David would have to do as a ground worker as well. Once again, you are also able to add any further additional training as well. We can see that in the activity tab too.
Thanks.
Any other questions at all, Jack?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
No, perfect. So something else that we realised as well when we did create the training register, what actually happened, and we had some feedback from some of our clients, as I said, it's all well and good that you've created the system, and we're moving away from our Excel sort of spreadsheets. However, I do know that for a few accreditations like Chaz, for example, you do need to actually be able to show a training matrix as an Excel spreadsheet. So you do have the ability to download this as a training matrix, which would look like so. One thing that is worth pointing out, if you make any changes to this training matrix, it's not going to pull back that information into the system. Any changes that need to be made, you have to make within the system. So essentially downloading this information is only one way. You can't reverse those changes back into the system. So you can't re-upload this spreadsheet to see your changes. But this is really handy if you've got any form of, tenders where they're asking for that information. You can manipulate this spreadsheet how you need. So if you want to get rid of the names, but just show the roles and the courses that you have, then obviously you can do that. It's up to you of how you want to manipulate this document. Any other questions at all before I quickly just show you how this will link with the RAM system? I'm just going to log into a different account where we've got them set up as combined. This is the training register only system. If you do have a RAMS account, then what you're able to do is you can actually, they'll all be within the same system, which I'll be able to show. But I don't know if you just wanted to send in your questions. I know we've only got sort of 10 minutes left, so feel free to fire your questions through.
And we just
see the chat coming through now. If we've got any questions for anyone.
Another quick couple of questions on the training register whilst we're here.
Yep.
From Steve. If an in-house course is made, i.e. no certificate is given, does the system generate one?
If an in-house course is made, I know no, it doesn't. No, that's a great suggestion, something that we could possibly put onto the roadmap, but no, it doesn't. It's not, you can choose when you upload a course as to whether, it's required for evidence to be there or not. But no, it won't generate one for you. That would be something for you to do, but definitely something that we'll try and add to our roadmap and see if that's something that we can develop in-house. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Another question from Steve. If you book a training, does it show anywhere as a list?
Yeah, good question. So I'll show you what that would look like if we were to book training. So if we just go into an individual who has training outstanding at the moment, like Alan here, if we go into their accounts and our first aid at work, let's say that we would like to add a booking. So we've seen that this is out of date, or Alan might have just started the business, and therefore, as part of the sort of onboarding process for Alan, to be compliant to work on our sites, these are the set training that he has to go through. What we can do is we can add our booking. So let's say that the training is next Monday. We can add our booking, add any sort of booking notes that you wanted to at this point, and then we can just add the booking, and we now can see that's booked for the 25th of Jan. So I don't think it's going to pull through on the main dashboard itself, but when you go into an individual's account, that's where you're going to be able to see that training has been booked for you. Well, that you've booked it. Just another few quick questions that I think we've had here as well. So how do we get notified of training? Yeah, good question. So you will be notified if training is due to expire via email. So 60 days before, obviously, you'll receive that email. And I do believe that there's sort of like tiny emails in between that as well to sort of notify you that training is expiring. You'll also receive a weekly summary by email as well for all of your upcoming training too, that's expired too. So you'll have, so every week you'll have that, that email that'll come through as a bit of a summary and a bit of a roundup as to your training. Chris, we've got a question. Toolbox Talks. Can this be recorded to both the training matrix and work alongside the project? So we do have a client that does use the training matrix as sort of part of that process. The training register process, they are pulling that information into the system. I think this is something that we do want to look at in future, but you can sort of add the sort of Toolbox Talks and record those in there as well. Really helps as well with that sort of history log, so you can see where that sort of training, the Toolbox Talks are logged and how often they are doing those. Yes, can training providers be recorded? Yes, when you are adding a course, it's actually going to ask you a few questions as to the information that you want to provide for that course. So if I just show you here for our course register, so if you wanted to add a course, let's just call this ABC training. Hopefully the teams will know their ABCs out on site. We can add this as a training course. And then as we scroll down, it's going to ask us, so obviously roles, once again, it's going to ask you methods. So how are you actually doing this training? It's also going to pull through your provider, so you can add in who that provider might be. Also, you're able to add a cost estimate and a time estimate as well for how long this training tends to take.
A couple more questions here, Mace.
Yeah.
If training is booked, will the system send an Outlook invite to the participant? So I believe currently no, but it is another good suggestion.
Yes, so currently no, it is something that we are looking at the moment. I mean, we're in very sort of early stages of it, but I know it's something that's on our product roadmap to see if we can sort of integrate with some form of e-learning solution further down the line. To answer your question at the moment, no, but it is something that we are looking at, and obviously if and when it does happen, we can always update you with when that's going to be and how it's going to look as well. Just to finish as well, before we answer a few more of those questions, I just wanted to show you actually how you're able to create this in conjunction with the RAMS system as well. So obviously this looks very familiar to you all that are using our RAMS system. So once you've created a risk assessment and method statement and you add your personnel to the system, obviously to get the digital signatures, if you've got that feature activated on your account, then it's actually going to pull through that individual's name and also their training status as well. So that training status is essentially going to tell us, yes, this person has all of the training that they require for the job. It's all up to date as well. And therefore, Alan, in this instance, is actually valid for that project as well. So it's sort of going to give us that real-time sort of information as we create a project. It will also show you as well, it will turn orange if an individual's training throughout the duration of that project is due to expire as well. Obviously, it will show red if the training isn't there. What you can do as well, and where I showed you on the training register earlier, where you can download an individual's training report one by one, what you can actually do when you're on the projects element of here, you can actually download a training report for all of your individuals actually that are as part of that project. So rather than having to do, 5 individuals individually downloading their reports, you can just create that one big training report and send it off as part of your RAMS documents to your clients as and when that project is due to start. Just seeing if we've got any other questions. Are you able to provide, so Gareth, thanks for the question. Are you able to provide sample documents such as evidence and matrix? Yes, you can. This is, as mentioned, but I'll show you again. This is where you can download the actual evidence themselves. But you're also able to pull out a training matrix as well if you needed to. Chris, got another question from Chris. With the RAM system, can you select / deselect whose certifications you want to submit with the RAMs, e.g. operatives and supervisors, but not directors / managers? Yeah, of course. I mean, it depends, I guess, whether you are adding them to the project or not. You don't have to add everyone. You can add a certain member of the teams first, and then download the training report and add the others after, I would say, is probably the easiest way of doing that. But at the moment, I don't think you can select which individuals that you want to pull through as part of that project. So what other questions we got? Good, very good suggestion, though, Chris. I like that. I think Jamie, who's on our call, who's sort of our head of products, has just thought that's a great idea. So I think we'll be adding that one to our roadmap. Gareth, apologies. I've just realised that I've read your question wrong. Yes, I can absolutely send you a example of those documents as well that get pulled through the system. It is worth mentioning as well, actually, we're constantly looking for new suggestions and developing new features within the training register as well. So if there is any sort of suggestions that you might have, then obviously feel free to get in touch when we do give you a call over the next few days, and we'll see if those sort of relate as part of our roadmap as well. Can't promise everything, but those that are asked over and over again by new customers or current clients, then we can definitely see if we can put them onto our roadmap as well. Let's see, any other question? In order to have our CHAS construction line submitted with RAMs, Chris, good question. Is that the training report, the training matrix that you're mentioning there? Tony, hi. I've just seen your question that's come through. Can we track individuals were active? Are they individuals that are active within the business at the moment? Because obviously, to answer that question, you do have the ability to be able to sort of make individuals deactive. Therefore, those that aren't are obviously active. But in terms of active on projects, you do have the ability to see whether a subcontractor is an inactive or active subcontractor via the system as well. Cool. So I think we're coming to the end of the webinar itself. I know we have overrun by a couple of minutes, so apologies if we've eaten away into your lunch. Excuse the pun. But any other questions that you might have, and any that are outstanding, Jack and I can get in touch with you and answer any of those questions that you do have, if there are any outstanding. What we would like to do as well is obviously get in touch with you to give you some idea of pricing. It is going to be quite different. You know, if you are a current Hands HQ client, if you would use the training register as a standalone product, pricing does differ. Also, the amount of personnel. I would say though that because we are well, not necessarily in the early stages, but you know, the system is where it is at the moment. Pricing is pretty reasonable, which is great. So what we'll do is Jack and I will be able to get in touch over the next sort of few days and we can actually give you some price and give you an indication. However, if you are very eager to learn more, then feel free to spam the chat section now with a call me, and I can give you a call this afternoon to be able to give you some idea on pricing as well. Chris, what I'll do is I can give you a call as well, just to discuss some of the questions that you've just asked there also. Steve, thanks. We can give you a call later on today, give you some pricing. Anyone else that would like to, then please do let me know. Otherwise, we'll get through to you over the next few days. Last bit of homework, just to, not homework, but housekeeping, just to let you know. We do have our next webinar, which is happening in a couple of weeks' time. So actually on the 11th of Feb. This is going to be more of a content webinar, if you like. So going back to what we were producing rather than a sort of a product run through, this is going to be sort of a safety specialist chat in a few weeks' time. We're actually going to be discussing about how COVID and how the pandemic has facilitated digitalization within the construction industry. I mean, I'm sure that all of you are fully aware that the construction have always been a little bit behind the times when it comes to software and digital approaches. Within the last 6 months, there's probably been about 3 or 4 years worth of digitalization just to sort of keep up with and adapt to the changing landscape. So we will also be sending around links of that within the next few days, potentially at the start of next week as well. We do also have a couple of special guests turning up next week as well. Don't expect David Beckham or Michael Owen. They are health and safety professionals. But as always as well, we're going to be doing a lot more webinars over the next few weeks too. So if you didn't want to get involved and actually be part of the panel, then feel free to let us know, and it'd be really good to get you all involved and create a bit of a discussion piece as well. But yeah, we've got a few of you that have asked for us to give you a call, so we'll be doing that this afternoon. If not, we'll get round to everyone eventually as well. Jack, I don't know if there's anything else from you at all?
No, as you say, a couple of follow-ups there for the guys, and yeah, great job, Mason, and hopefully we'll speak to everyone soon.
Yes, thanks very much, everyone. Have a good afternoon, and we'll catch up soon. See you later, everyone.